Dude, I'm going to apologize right up front.
Thank you.
Without a doubt, this is the worst audio setup I have ever used. Did I tell you what I'm using here?
Is this something that you got as free swag at VidCon?
Yes. I have a Rode lav mic that I got from the Rode booth.
Oh, well, they make good stuff.
And the headphones I'm using are Logitech headphones I got from the Logitech booth.
Those are both good companies. Why are you saying negative things about Rode and Logitech?
I'm just saying they're not made for podcasting. Like this lav mic is like for dictating to yourself.
Okay, that's probably fair.
And this is a gamer headset that you 360 no-scope people with. And so, and I'm in a hotel room and I can hear stuff out the window and the heat pump's running.
It just makes it feel more authentic. It's a soundscape. See what we're doing there? I've got a soundscape on my end as well because I was just pulling into the parking lot and, oh, dude, I pulled into the parking lot tonight and I was getting ready to come inside. And right before I came inside, two otters, or like two minks, like
What?
a mom otter and a little baby otter. I think they were otters. They walk with like the great big hump in their backs. Like they
What?
just started walking across the parking lot. And the big one, I'm like, oh, look at you. It's some kind of weasel-like creature. I mean, bigger than a cat. And then I look closer and there's a baby one, like the size of a kitten. And it's like fuzzy and adorable and it's chasing along after its mom. And I really wanted to show you a picture so I could scream about it when we were recording. And I drove over there and they were too fast for me. They like humped along and ran off into the bushes. Stuff like that, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's so awesome.
You have otters there?
I guess so. I mean, like maybe it was an elaborate prank, but it was what it looked like to me.
In my brain, otters only swim on their backs. That's all they do.
And they only frolic, and they only smile, and they only have adorable little water mittens that they use to grab things they like to eat in their adorable mouths. I don't know about all of that, but that's how they are to me. So then I'm like, oh, everything is pristine and beautiful and like, you know, quiet, and I'm ready to record. And then a youth group from Minnesota rolled into church where I record, and apparently they're staying here tonight and wrestling. So there's going to be some background noise, if you're cool with that.
I'm game. Let's do it anyway.
Well, let's let it clunk, brother. How was VidCon?
It was interesting. Yeah, it's always fun to get to see all your friends and stuff, but there weren't as many education friends there as normal, so there was that. But for the most part, it was good. I enjoyed it.
I've never been. It's just like a bunch of booths and sponsors and aspiring YouTubers and successful YouTubers mingling.
That's an excellent way of saying it. Yeah.
Huh.
There's a lot of panels and people giving talks on things that they should or should not be giving talks on.
You mean because of varying levels of expertise?
Yeah. There's some people that like really plan it out and they have slides and charts and all this good stuff, and they put on their fancy "I'm about to give a talk" glasses, and they get up there and they,
So it's like their TED Talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my.
And then there's other people that are like, whatever, I do this, I'm an expert, ask me questions, and those are the best because they actually are the experts.
So is that you?
No, not at all.
So you're the other guy. You're the
panels.
pretentious one that gets up there with the glasses.
No, I'm not.
Well, then you only gave me two categories, and they're both not you. Which one is you?
Matt, making things hard.
That's why I'm here.
I'm on panels and stuff, and then what I really like to do is I like to interact with people that are just now getting into the space, and it's pretty easy to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense. There's a lot of people there that are predators, and they're trying to prey on young people who don't quite understand the business yet.
Yep.
And if you're young and new to something and no one has a clue what they're doing, the first person that comes along with something that sounds like a plan is who you're just going to jump on board with, right?
Conversation 1 between you and me, you talked about exactly that, about people who you had specifically looked up on the internet and been like, hey, this is coming, this is going to happen, heads up, here's how to handle it. And one mutual friend that we have, I know, really benefited from, you know, you helping her process that out.
Yeah, actually, she was there, and we were in this meeting, and people were like, well, how do you do speaking gigs? Like, how do you go give a talk somewhere?
You mean like, how do you line that up? How do you get asked?
Well, yeah, how do you line that up? Actually, that's where I'm at right now. I'm in California. I have a speaking, I call them talkie talks.
You do call them talkie talks.
I have a talkie talk tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tomorrow's talkie talk is for a group of of young people that are here for not a camp, but like a retreat kind of thing. And they've invited me to come in and talk about science and faith and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that.
Right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I enjoy talking about that stuff. It's really easy for people to say, oh, well, we want you to come out here and give us a talk and you'll get exposure. I mean, you don't get paid in exposure.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So there's a lot of people at VidCon that are trying to figure out how to make money doing what they're good at. I mean, these people are contributing and making high quality things. They should be compensated for their time, but they have no idea how to do it. For example, the going rate for an agent is 10%. Like California, that's the law. I've seen a group of people that are being taken advantage of, and they're getting compensated with the agent taking 20%.
That feels like double.
Yeah, it does. It was really weird. I was trying to explain this to one of them. I was like, hey, I just want you to understand this person's taking more than they should. And this person was comfortable in the situation, and they were saying something like, yeah, I know, but this individual came to me and kind of helped me out, and somebody else tried to do bad things to me, but this person was, always doing straight up, and I got more money out of them. I was like, that's great, but this is the only person you've talked to in 3 years. You need to get more information.
You remember what that's like, though, that the first time somebody expresses interest in something you made, I mean, you are going to undervalue what you have made by such a wide margin. Early in the game, in anything, you're just hoping somebody will like it or pay attention to it, and the idea that it might have value has not yet occurred to you. It's kind of like how, well, in my line of work, I see a lot of kids get into bad relationships when they're in their teens. And a lot of times it's the first person who was nice to some girl or to some dude is who they go for. And then that person's got their hooks in them forever, and really ugly stuff comes out of it. But that individual is still undervaluing themselves as a human so much that they unwittingly allow themselves to be taken advantage of.
You hit it right on the head. The key is knowing what you're worth. And that's what I said to the room. I said, look, whatever you think you're worth, it's more than that, I promise. I was fortunate enough early in the game, there's this guy up at a school in Connecticut called Pomplamoose. It's one of these private New England boarding school kind of things. He asked me to come give a talk. And we were trying to figure out the negotiation for the rate and how much it was worth. And he just told me a number. And I said, dude, I'm not worth that. Like, I'll do that, obviously, but I'm not worth that. He goes, yeah, you are. You just don't know it yet.
How long ago was this?
This was probably 5 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe less than that.
So that was kind of a pivotal moment.
Huge, man. Huge. That taught me a lot. But these people, they don't know that. And so when I look at them and I tell them straight up, like, look, you're not going to understand the value of what you do until you say no. Because most people, like you said, just jump at the first thing. So anyway, there's just one thing that happened that...
You told me to say no. The first time we ever talked, you were like, I'm Destin. Okay, I'm Matt. And I didn't really know what you did, like YouTube-wise or anything at that point. We're just shooting the breeze. And you're asking me YouTube questions about my goals. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of fun to talk about. And you started getting into some of this exact stuff. And I listened, but I was like, why would I say no? Like, no one's asked me to do anything yet. I should probably just say yes a little bit right now. Because literally 20 people watch, my fledgling YouTube channel. I'll just say yes is what I decided in my head. And then the offers did start to come when things started to grow. And I remembered what you'd said, and they were awful. Every single offer was just terrible. And I don't get any such offers at this point, but early in the game, I suppose they're, organizations or agent teams or whatever who scour around YouTube to look for people who are just trying, who are going to make an effort. And I think their business model is if you get a whole bunch of people who aren't going to succeed, but who are willing to post with frequency, and you skim a very, a 20% kind of number off the top in exchange for a couple of graphics or something, then if you do that enough, you've got like this army of IOI agents who are working for you, indentured servants who just gradually make you money, and you don't have to do anything creatively or organizationally. And I knew to say no because we'd talked. or I should say, if we hadn't, I think my first impulse would have been to be flattered that, oh, somebody from the internet likes me. I should probably do this. So thank you for the advice, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Dude, I really appreciate that. So Tara and I went to VidCon, and we met on the plane over there. I know that sounds weird, meeting with your wife, but we have business mode and like husband-wife mode. We were in business mode. We're like, okay, what are we going to do?
Tell me more about husband-wife mode.
I know, that's my favorite mode. So we were on the way out there, and we said, what's our goal? What are we trying to do when we get out here? And she just says, look, here's the deal. There's a lot of young people out here that don't know the stuff that we've learned the hard way. Our goal should be to mentor them by just telling them straight up.
She said all that?
Yeah.
Is she like the nicest person?
She's good. She's good.
I mean, really, that's incredibly selfless as a goal for your week.
That's what our goal was.
But also incredibly helpful to people who are on the front end of this thing.
That's literally what our goal was. You know, we went to parties with the idea of, we're going to go to this party, we're going to find people that don't know what they're doing but really want to figure it out, and we're going to talk to them and give them advice and all that kind of stuff. And I think I come across as super forward when I do that.
I think Bob Claggett would agree.
Yeah, he would. And several people over the years. Dude, this is something else that happened.
It's how you came off when we talked the first few times. Like very, very assertive.
Kind of like a punk.
You maybe tiptoed into that tone once or twice, but not inappropriately. I mean, I wasn't put off by it. But if you'd been wrong in retrospect, yeah, it would have been a pretty punk move, but you were right about everything.
I need to figure out how to do this better because the weirdest thing happened, dude. There was a magician. This sounds bizarre, but this actually happened. So we stayed at this one hotel, and there were shuttles that took us to the convention center, right?
All right.
And YouTube had hired magicians to sit in the shuttle with you and entertain you.
What? You mean like Job Bluth? Like illusionists?
Like rope tricks, card tricks, things like that. At one point, some person...
Doves?
It was weird, but this one magician gets in there. He's an older gentleman, gray hair. He's got his hair slicked back. He's wearing, a coat kind of thing. He's playing the part.
I can picture it. Did his tux have tails?
No, I don't know. He was sitting on
fraud.
He's sitting there, and he goes, what kind of tricks do you guys like? I'm a magician that's been hired to entertain you.
Tricks are for prostitutes, Destin. These are illusions.
Whatever, dude.
Okay, the lingo's all wrong. Continue.
I don't understand the reference, but whatever. This is one of the most bizarre interactions I've ever had in my life. And I said, oh, that's fun. And he looks at me and he goes, you look like the kind of guy that likes rope tricks. I said,
what?
Actually, I am. Yeah, I'd love to see a rope trick. And so he pulls out this rope, and he's looking at Tara and looking at me. We're in the back seat. He's in the middle row. It's just us in the car, and there's a driver up front. And he pulls out the rope trick, and he starts doubling it over in his hands, and he pulls out some scissors, and he cuts a little length off the rope, and he makes it look like he does all this stuff. And oh, look, it wasn't actually cut, just normal type tricks.
Okay. Illusions.
Yeah, illusions. I'm sorry. He does some really good sleight of hand stuff, and he ties a knot around the rope, and then he asks Tara to blow on the rope, and the knot falls off. Really good stuff.
Cool.
And I'm sitting there figuring it out as he's doing it. And then he does a couple of other tricks, and I said, oh, here's one. And I showed him a trick, and he showed it back to me and stuff like that. And then I asked him to teach me a couple of tricks, and he taught me a couple. Illusions. I asked him to teach me a couple of illusions, and he did.
Okay.
And it was great, and I was very entertained. It was very fun. And then we start to pull into the parking deck, and he puts his rope up, and he points at Tara, and he says, ma'am, you're a very trusting individual, and you're kind of fun-loving, and you're just willing to go with the flow and see what things are going on, and you trust them. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. He kind of nailed her there. And then he points at me, and he goes, sir, you're stubborn.
Whoa.
And I said, excuse me? He's like, yeah, you're stubborn. You know the answer before anybody else in the room. And it's not because you're trying to figure the answer out or anything like that. He's like, you just know. You're a smart individual, and you figure it out. And you're stubborn, and you will keep thinking until you have it figured out. And that's just how you are.
He's dead wrong.
And
wow, dude.
I looked at Tara, and I said, What? And she just kind of looked back at him, looked back at me, and winked. And I said, "Sir, I wanted him to decode the rest of my life right there, you know."
Yeah,
But
well, if he made that much progress in 2 rope illusions and a short shuttle ride, imagine what an hour with him would do.
I know, but he said your brain is different than most people. You're normally ahead of the game, but you're trying to figure it out, and you normally know the answer before anybody else, and it bothers you that other people can't see it. So you kind of insist that they see it, and often they don't.
What just characterize the social interaction. Was the whole thing, like, is that his shtick? He's like, "Hey, good sir, you look like a rope trick liker," which, what does that even look like? "Here's a rope trick. Now, here are your deepest heart's desires." Like, is it like a fortune telling shtick? What was he doing?
No, it was just straight up. He was
out of illusionist mode at this point and just being a person?
he turned it off. He just turned it off, and he looked at me and he was like, "This is how you are." It was a Michael moment, right? Like, he was the most intelligent person in the car, and he was presenting new information, and he was decoding my soul as I was watching the illusion. And he was, I don't know, I mean, he was just putting his finger on the pulse in a really deep way that nobody ever has.
Nobody ever has that fast.
No. Well, let's put it this way. He turned his cards over at the end of the illusion, and the cards were, "I know way more about you than you think I do. In fact, I know more about you than you know about you." And it was the most amazing, I don't know what you want to call it, interaction with a magician or a trick I've ever seen.
Well,
and so
my standards for that are fairly low. But no, that's pretty astonishing. But I mean, what do you do with it? Do you feel like you need to change something, or it just makes you more self-aware?
I don't know. He's dead right, because often I'm thinking about how to have a conversation to lead people down a path. Like, after that interaction, we had conversations with these people who were being manipulated by these older businessmen and businesswomen. And it changed the way I had the conversation, because I know they're being taken advantage of.
I'm seeing all the connections. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know they're being taken advantage of, but I also know they're very comfortable in the situation they're in right now.
Yes.
And I don't know how to tell them, look, he folded the card up and put it in his hand over there, right? And so I don't know how to have that conversation and tell them without it seeming like I'm trying to take all the fun out of everything. Because I was in another vehicle later, and there was a card magician, and there's this YouTube star that was in the car with us, and she saw the trick and she figured it out. I didn't. But she goes, "Oh yeah, the extra card's in your back pocket, and you took it out at this moment in the trick, blah, blah, blah." And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's not fun. You just kind of took everything away from us there.
Yeah, we know you're very touchy about spoilers.
I am. And it made me think, maybe that's how I come across to people. If I have information that they don't have or they haven't arrived at yet, and I just present it abruptly and bluntly, then it's possible that I come across to them like that lady came across when she just said, "Hey, that's the answer. It's over there."
Maybe.
I had this moment where I realized perhaps there's something I need to change about how I do human interactions.
How would you feel about honest feedback on that with the microphones on?
Do it. Let's go.
Okay. I think you are top 1% socially of people I've ever interacted with. Don't worry, I'll insult you more in a minute so that you don't get weird. But I mean, your radar in a room is more dialed than just about anybody else I've seen in a room. You're very, very attentive to just intuitively what people need, what people are insecure about, what people are feeling good about, what it would take to bring people together. You're very, very intuitively strategic about relationships and conversations. And you give me a lot of credit for being that way. I think you're way more on purpose with it. You're very, very good at that. You are also very confident because you're very often right. And I say very often right because that is the only place where I've ever seen you bumble in conversation, is when you've had a good long run of being right. And so you're pretty sure you're probably going to be right on the next one. But then you read it a little quick and you're very assertive with advice or read on the situation. But the read wasn't quite right, but the assertiveness level was the same. And early on in our friendship, there were a few times where I was like, what?
Right.
Like, huh? Where is this coming from? Who are you?
Oh, I remember the exact conversation you're talking about. I remember the one.
Yeah. And those moments don't happen anymore because I know this rhythm, and generally your read on stuff is just really accurate and really good and really intuitive. And we know each other well enough that we can just give each other crap when we think the other one is wrong at this point. It doesn't cost us anything.
You hockey checked me into the wall when that happened.
I maybe went a little soft. I think through the glass would have been more appropriate on that one. But no, it was fine. Give and take, figuring each other out. And so as somebody who knows you really well, the moments at which it feels like you're coming on strong is when I feel like, wait, you haven't listened yet. You don't understand the situation yet. You're jumping to a conclusion that's too quick, but you're going with the same level of confidence that you go with when you do have all the data. You just don't realize you don't have all the data yet. And now, like, because we have a good rhythm of conversation, like, it's just easy. Like, we just figure each other out, and I've got quirks and you got quirks, and it works out. But if I did not know you well, and even if you were right, and my personality was one that really didn't like confrontation, yeah, that could jar me so hard that I would be put off by you.
Do I have to fix that?
I don't know. If it sounds like I'm saying you need to, I'm not sure I mean to say that.
So we had like 4 conversations this weekend with people, like life-changing conversations for people.
Awesome.
If you can get this piece of information now instead of 3 years from now, it's going to change the trajectory of your business, kind of stuff.
Wow.
Here's the information because I did it wrong and you don't have to, kind of thing. And
you gave like, that information away for free.
Yeah, I went out of my way to give that to people. And a couple of people were like, dude, this is amazing. Thank you for this. And one person, it just hit them wrong. And I'll just tell you the situation, remove all the names to protect the innocent. So we're at a party and I'm explaining to this individual, look, the person that's doing this to you is taking too much money and it's not good. Like they're taking advantage of you. You just don't know it. And this individual was like, yeah, but it's easy. And I was like, look, all these people that are doing this with you, they can't see it either. And right then, like we had just finished, that had just come out of my mouth. One of the people that was in this individual's group that was in the same type business relationship walks over and says, you'll never believe what just happened. That woman over there asked me what I was doing and how popular my YouTube channel was. And she tried to make me a business offer. And I told her, no way. I'm doing this other thing. And she wanted to like tell me numbers. And I was like, forget it.
What?
I'm awesome.
What are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
and,
no.
I looked at him. I was like, dude, always listen. Always listen. And he's like, yeah, but she was someone else. And then I just kind of held up my hand. Like, I was like, I'm going to sacrifice this lamb to teach this other guy. So I just held up my hand like, stop talking. And I pointed at the guy I was talking to. I said, do you understand what I'm saying right now? And he goes, I do. And I said, do you see that this man to my left right now is completely blind to the situation and has no idea that the potential business opportunity that lay over there is dead to him now? Do you see this? He's like, I do. I said, okay, that's all I want you to see. And then the guy was like, can I be in on this joke? I was like, yeah, dude, you got to take all the data. Like you always listen and take all the data. And then you can put more dots on the scatter plot and then you can draw a trend line and figure out what's truth. Because the goal is to get closest to truth. Or in your case, market value for what you do, the services you provide.
Yes. And I get it. I relate to this. Like, I like to write things. I like to make things. I like humans. I like to talk about stuff. So I want to make stuff. And I think what maybe is lost on some people is that you have learned a ton of lessons the hard way about, I don't know, what it might look like to actually have that work pay for itself. Like, I have a few patrons over on the 10-Minute Bible Hour who kick in on my little YouTube program. And it was just game changing, just even to have a few people kick in some every month so that I'm not paying to make the channel out of my household budget anymore. And just even understanding that Patreon was a thing. I didn't know that. It just had never occurred to me that people might want to be a part of things, and that there might be a way to make it so that it could pay for itself. And I think there are a bunch of people who make this who are in the same boat. Like, it's just, I don't know. All I'm trying to do is just make creative stuff on the internet.
This event that I'm telling you about, this conversation, happened at a Patreon party. It was a party put on by Jack Conte from Patreon.
From Pomplamoose?
Yeah. And some of the people that I was talking to, they did not have like any kind of way to provide their content to patrons. I was like, Patreon is the ultimate, because these are people that like what you do, and it's a goodwill engine. Like the people that support the podcast here on Patreon, these are people that support us because they might like listen to you body check me against the wall and stuff. You
Whatever.
know what I mean?
I was talking with a couple of good friends at lunch today about how over the last 20 years we've watched all media get condensed down into fewer and fewer owners of that media. So like what Disney is getting set to buy Fox right now, and Disney already owns ESPN and ABC. Like, I remember in the mid 90s when I figured out that 6 companies owned every bit of media I consume. And then the internet happened right after that. And it was like there were now 2 veins of media. There was corporate media that is very safe, very corporate sponsorship driven. And then there's just Wild West, blog, internet. You get into the 2000s, YouTube. And then eventually you have, internet series that start to catch on, and then Netflix and original programming starts to happen. And now I feel like it's wanting to congeal back into just a few gatekeepers again. And so I guess what I'm saying is part of what I appreciate about what you're doing there and what Vidcon is doing and everything is that it's trying to defend that Wild West mentality a little bit of, sometimes it's okay to look past the gatekeepers, and having more people making content that is just what they want to make and saying what they think, even if I agree with it or otherwise, is really good. That is so much better than having 3 corporations own all of the ideas and all of the media and be able to just do thought blitzes where they get to shape culture. I think it's way cooler that there is now a mechanism for culture to be informed from the ground up instead of from the top down, and you investing in people who are trying to figure out how to do it and string together a living doing it. It's more than an investment in them. It's good for all of us to have a whole bunch of people individually out making their own stuff. That's my speech.
Yeah, I agree. It's the democratization of entertainment / education. I mean, the bulk of my involvement is to create educational content. I am promoting other people who are doing that. That's kind of where my passion is.
Well, and here's something else. Mild segue. Are you okay with me segueing mildly right now?
Just mildly.
Okay.
Maybe a medium segue.
Okay, medium segue.
I am so stinking pumped that I get to tell you about the new sponsor, because it has solved a problem for me that I've been trying to fix for 10 years. I now have Wi-Fi everywhere. I have Wi-Fi in my office, Wi-Fi in the kitchen. I have Wi-Fi in my garage. You have no idea how big of a deal that is. And I've even routed Cat5 cables through the attic to try to get it to certain places, but there was a power issue in the sunroom, so I couldn't get it to my garage, which is isolated from my house. I have Wi-Fi in my garage now that works. This is a big deal. So this is how I did it. There's a company called Eero, E-E-R-O. Their motto is never think about Wi-Fi again. This is brain dead simple. I mean, it just works. I have the 2nd generation Eero, and you open a box and there's this little square router. It's got 2 Ethernet jacks on the back, and it's also got a USB-C power cord. You plug this thing in, you download this app, and boom, you're up and running in just a few minutes. On some of my other routers that I've dealt with in the past, I've set one router up here and I wanted to bounce it to another router and extend the range, and I tried to set up a network. Did not work at all. Eero, the whole point is to get Wi-Fi that works everywhere, everywhere. You've been to a hospital, right? And you've seen the Wi-Fi routers up on the ceiling. They're everywhere. Why do you not do that at your house? Why do you only have one router somewhere tucked away in a closet expecting it to reach the guest bathroom or whatever? Eero is a totally different philosophy. The idea is a distributed mesh network And it works. I wanted to know if it was really as easy to set this thing up as they said, so I recorded some audio, and here's the highlights. All right, here we go. I am opening the Eero. All right, it says it's going to take about 10 minutes to set this up. Okay, so I got the app, eero.com/app. Unplug the modem and old router from power. Plugging in the Eero. Using either of the Ethernet ports on the back of your Eero, connect your Eero to the modem. Plug Eero and modem into power. All right, done. Looking for your Eero. Oh, there we go. Blinking blue. Boom, solid blue. Eero detected. Now let's set its location and create your network. Next. Where's your Eero? I'm going to say it's in the office. Setting up your network, it says. Boom, check mark. I guess that means it's done. Boom, your network. It actually says boom after I said boom. Your network has been created. So yeah, this is what you need. You need a distributed Wi-Fi system at your house that's brain dead simple to set up. The app is amazing. It's like got a built-in speed test, and you can simply monitor everything. However many Eero nodes you have in your house, you can just pull it up on your phone, and it tells you which each one is doing. Like when I set the thing up, it told me if it was communicating with the other ones well enough or not. It's amazing. Anyway, here's the offer. If you want free overnight shipping to the US or Canada, visit eero.com. That's EERO.com. And at checkout, select overnight shipping and then enter NDQ for no dumb questions, and it'll make the shipping free. Again, that's eero.com. Click overnight shipping and then enter NDQ at checkout, and your overnight shipping will be free. It works. It just straight up works. They blew me away. I have Wi-Fi in my garage, and I did it in 10 minutes. It makes me wonder why I ran all that Cat 5 all those years ago, and I just never could get it to, man, it's awesome. Eero, EERO.com. Use NDQ at checkout after you select overnight shipping. Thanks to Eero for sponsoring the show, and let's get back to the conversation.
Another thing that comes with the democratization, I guess is the word we're using, of media, is that a whole bunch of individual people are in a position to try to help do things that are good. And we have only talked briefly about this motorcycle rice run thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you at with that?
Okay, so you were going to go to Nicaragua because you've got some friends down there.
Well, I've worked in Nicaragua for the last 4 years now. I've been going pretty much twice a year, and I work with a bunch of local pastors. I help teach seminary classes so that they can go and teach whatever they want and think whatever they want. So yes, I like Nicaragua, and I go there a lot.
And so you canceled your trip. Why?
Because there's something that looks maybe almost like a revolution going on. In the 1980s, there was this big fight between the Contras and Sandinistas. It was a horrible, horrible civil war. And, Nicaragua kind of has recovered from it. But in the last few months, we're really internationally seeing that there's this long shadow still being cast by that. And it's turned violent. I think a couple hundred people are dead. Tourism side of stuff is shut down there. There are blockades on the roads, violence. It's a pretty ugly situation as people are pushing back against their government.
Yeah, so it's the blockades on the roads. That's the big one.
It's the rub, isn't it?
Yeah, so what's happening is my buddy Adam Blaylock, he works down there in Nicaragua. Just to understand this guy, he won a national carpentry competition when we were 19 years old.
Dang.
I met the dude in an apartment complex in Jackson, Mississippi. I was moving in to be an engineering intern at a local hydraulic pump plant. He was moving in to run a construction site. As a young man, he was running a construction site. We both pulled in with red Chevy pickup trucks to move in the same day, the same apartment complex. And we looked at him. I was like, "Hey, nice truck." He's like yours too. He's like, "I can see you didn't go for the step boards on the side," and so that kind of thing. So it was like, well, guess we're friends now. That's how that works. And
we just become best friends.
Yeah, man, you'll do karate in the garage. Anyway, so long story short, Adam can do anything, and he has decided to be a missionary in Nicaragua with his family, and which is fascinating to me because it smells very much like Jim Elliot. If nobody's ever heard of Jim Elliot, there's a book called Through Gates of Splendor. So anyway, Adam is down in Nicaragua. He comes back a few months ago. He's telling me about what he wants to do, and he's just trying to take over this abandoned ministry that's to people that live in a landfill.
Yeah,
and he goes,
that is a thing there.
Yeah. So these people live in the dump, and they're kind of scavengers and things like that. And he wants to go in and help with child development and stuff like that. Literally the least of these kind of stuff. All this goes down, and he's like, well, I've got a wife, got kids. I got to get them out of there. I got to protect my family. So he brings them home, and all these people that live in this area where he's at, he wants to get them food because these blockades that have been set up in the cities, I don't understand. Why are they setting up blockades on the roads? Do you understand this?
Did you ever see Les Mis? The movie or the play, the musical, any of that stuff?
No, I haven't.
Les Miserables. It's set in revolutionary France, or one of the eras of revolutionary France. And there's a scene that happens on the blockade. So it's interesting to watch this happen because it really is kind of reminiscent of the classical liberal revolutions. But the idea was we can only control very small areas because we're rebels and we're not the government. And so rebel or protester blockades are going to be set up to create a very small perimeter in a neighborhood or something like that. I suppose state blockades would be to prevent protesters from gathering in mass. So I don't know what percentage of the blockades that are up right now. I think you can see them on Google Maps, and there are even like notes that are like, this blockade you may be able to pass. This one is too dangerous. Maybe it's
Really?
Waze or something like that. Yeah, you can just pull it up at any given time and get the update. And so I think the idea is to control territory, to prevent the movement of supplies, or to keep supply lines internally. And that makes it sound like it's in full out war. I don't think that's where it's at, because the Nicaraguan government has not deployed the military against the citizenry. It looks instead like they've hired paramilitary gangs and groups like that look more like the citizenry and sent them out. So it's pretty weird without being there for me to fully understand what people feel like they have to do to be safe or protect a neighborhood. But I know driving through that central corridor from Leon in the north down to Granada on the lake it's almost impassable right now. And that would be like cutting off I-80 across the United States if it were the only interstate. It'd be like cutting off the Trans-Canadian. You just can't do without it.
He said the body count right now is over 200. And what I don't know is who that is. I don't know who's being killed by whom.
Those losses are all on the side of the protesters.
What are they protesting? The government?
Yeah, the whole thing started. Daniel Ortega is the guy in charge there. And I'm not going to speak with any judgment about the situation because I know people there. And I don't want to give the impression that I think one thing or another. So
okay,
I know
so
that sounds weird.
You're going to throw a perfect strike here.
I'm going to try to just shoot the middle and explain what's going on as I understand it.
Okay.
Daniel Ortega and his wife have been in power there for a long time. Ortega goes all the way back to the 80s and the controversies I mentioned earlier. Recently, Ortega ran with his wife as his running mate, or maybe she actually ran this last time. Whatever the case, her power has been escalated, and the protesters feel, in their opinion, that they are really consolidating power. The accusations are that they have brought the other branches of government fully under their control, and that they intend to set up a family dictatorship that they can hand on. Maybe that's accurate, maybe that's not. I'm sure the government side of things, Ortega would be saying that there are economic realities in the country and changes have to be made and some austerity measures have to happen and you're not going to like it. And so he introduced some of these austerity measures maybe 3 months ago. And the one that lit the fire was a change to like a national retirement or like pension plan thing. And it was maybe a percentage point change where basically people were assured this much money upon maybe retirement, and now it was going to be less. And for whatever reason, that was the thing that was just, I guess, the last straw. And it started with a student movement, I believe, in Managua, the capital. And then it really caught fire in the town that's halfway between Managua and the place where I work in Granada called Messiah. And Masaya, not like Jesus Messiah, but Masaya, same name as the famous volcano there.
Mm.
Masaya has just been hugely volatile, and that kind of cuts the country in half. So the government can't ignore it. And Nicaragua is not a particularly armed country, so they're fighting, with improvised weapons, like homemade hand mortars and stuff like that when the government forces come to assail them. There's a hotel that I've stayed every time I've been in Granada, and I watched a 15-minute video of people in masks with weapons and smoke and fire, like right in front of the hotel on that street that I know with people I know. And it's just unfathomable. Like that's just it's just a clean, pleasant, nice neighborhood where people live who I talk to. And now it's like a war zone.
Scary, man.
It's crazy. I'm sorry. I'm a little excited about it.
No. That's super scary. And the fact that people there makes it that much more real, I assume. I don't know people in Nicaragua. I just know Adam.
So Adam's plan is to try to just figure out how to run the blockade, basically, and get food to people. Is that what he's trying to organize?
He's figured it out. He has product. He's calling it product, which sounds great being in Nicaragua.
Oh, dear.
It is rice and beans.
That might need a rebrand.
Yeah, he needs to rebrand it.
Oh, so you sent him your buckets?
No, not my buckets.
Well, what is your family going to do then?
I don't know. So he's figured out how to get rice and beans, and he's got a plan to get it through all that over to this other area. I mean, he works in this place called Jinotega.
I know Jinotega, yeah.
Tell me about it. I don't know anything about it.
It's an inland city, kind of central, maybe a little bit north central. It's off of that main strip that I talked about just a little bit. I don't know, maybe a top 10 city there. I could be making that up. I picture it as being a significant town. I've driven through it once.
Yeah. Adam says these people are hungry. They've been cut off for 2 weeks. There's 700 families there, and I'm going to get them rice and beans.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And so Adam is the guy that, you got these people that you have history with, and they could walk out of the blue having not talked to you for a year. They could walk up to you and say, hey, Matt, I need your car. And you'd be like, okay, here's the keys.
Yeah. I know some other people who I could have not talked to for like 30 years, and they say, Matt, I need your car. And I would call the police. But yes, I know the kind you're talking about. Sure.
So Adam's one of these. Adam could walk out of a jungle with a big beard and be like, dude, this is what's happening, and I need you to do this.
Well, that's effectively what he's doing. Yeah, it's not like that. That's what is
It
occurring, literally.
It is what he's doing. I mean, he could say, get on a plane, we're going to do this. And I'd say, yes, sir, we're in.
Hey, it's Matt, but this is future Matt coming back to straighten out the timeline of this podcast episode. We were having this conversation about Nicaragua and this Adam guy, and then of all things, that said Adam guy just happened to be passing through town in Alabama and hit up Destin for a quick lunch. So Destin grabbed whatever microphone was handy. I jumped on the mic and we asked Adam if he would come on with us to speak more eloquently and accurately to what's actually going on in Nicaragua and what he's doing to help with it. And so this audio is going to be even sketchier than a bunch of other things we've done, but this guy brings a ton to the table, and it was really fun to get to connect with him in actuality. Also, somewhere along the line here, I realized that I've been using the word blockade, where I should have been using the word barricade, but English is hard, and this next part of the conversation is good, and that's the point. So without further ado, here's some weird audio of us talking with Adam about what's going on in Nicaragua.
Worst possible recording conditions ever. We're in a metal truck with rain hitting the top. I've got Adam here. Have you ever met Adam, Matt?
Have we said hello before, Adam? I feel like we have.
Yeah, we talked about 6 months ago over the phone with Destin.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Adam was rolling through town, and he just called me. You were going from Chattanooga to Mississippi?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but Adam trained in Oxford, English literature major, right?
An Englishman.
That was my first guess.
No, I met Adam years
it's a
ago.
bloody good day, mate.
No, I think you just
that's a
confused
lot
two
of accents, Adam. I don't know which one.
No, me and Adam met, I guess it was, heck, dude, that was 20 years ago.
2001?
Yeah, I think so. Long time ago. But Adam's been in Nicaragua, and he just gave me the brain dump on what's actually happened down there, dude. It's crazy. And there's a lot of things I would advise you, Adam, not to talk about just for safety reasons. But do you have any questions for Adam? Because he knows what's happening. It's weird.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking with a friend in Esteli, and I'm talking with a friend in Granada, and those are all the updates I'm getting. And you're kind of in between the two. I don't know. What do you think? Is it getting more violent, or is it settling down?
Well, it's hard to say. Managua is definitely the brunt of everything that's happened over the 2 months, because it's the capital city where all of the universities are, where the issues were taking place, and the government buildings and whatnot. Esteli was also pretty hot for a while, and then where we are, Jinotega, we're about an hour from Esteli, further into the mountains. But about 3 weeks ago is when it got pretty crazy there. So it was pretty neutral up until 3 weeks ago. And so I called in. I've been in touch since we left a little over a week ago, but they're telling me that it continues to get worse there in Jinotega. And then I've talked to people in Managua, and things seem to be consistent and the same. So Managua is such a big city spread out that, some areas are completely normal. You don't know anything's going on. And then the Metro Central area is where most of the issues happening. And then Messiah right now is really bad. Messiah actually created their own government. They kind of overthrew the local government.
I'd heard that with the blessings of the Catholic priests and leaders there.
Yeah, so the Catholic Church has been kind of a leader of the resistance there, so to speak. And so and then after they went public with their new, their kind of government they created, the police or the Ortega government, they say, attacked them. So
I was talking in there with Randy, Adam's wife, and the kids, and when Adam says it got hot in town, that means he woke up to gunfire.
Yeah, so one morning about 6 a.m., and they've been shooting these mortars and things like that, so we've kind of gotten accustomed to the mortars. And
yeah, these little hand mortar things.
Yeah, so you understand what a mortar is. It's basically a firecracker that they drop into a tube, and they light the fuse, and it shoots out, and then once it reaches its end there, it makes a big bang. And so that's kind of what they've been shooting. But then
for the purpose of fragmentation, to injure people?
There's no projectile other than the ball itself that blows up at the end.
Okay.
And so they've been shooting those, so we've kind of got accustomed. But then that particular morning, we wake up and there's gunfire back and forth, which is a completely different sound. And then they're shooting tear gas canisters too. So they were trying to disperse some people there that were causing issue. And there was a fight for probably 30 minutes there behind the house.
When you say fight, you mean with guns?
A gunfight, yeah. So, well, one side's got guns, one side's got slingshots.
Firecrackers. Yeah.
So they're throwing rocks and sticks on one side of the spectrum, and then the other side's the firearms.
Do you have a bunch of barricades up by where you're
Bunches. The city of Jinotega is completely shut down to vehicular traffic due to the barricades. So you can go to the north and you can go to the south, but you can't traverse through the city.
Who put them up?
The people that live in the city itself.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So it's kind of their form of neighborhood watch.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing this thing on Twitter. I've been tweeting stuff and I wrote an article, try to get people to give money to your motorcycle rice run.
Right.
Explain what that is.
All right, so basically we work in a community that's 45 minutes north of Jinotega that we've been working in for a while now. And so because of the issues and the blockades, that community's been cut off to work and public transportation and food supplies and things like that. And so the last week we were there, which has been 3 weeks ago now, we had to stop programs there due to not being able to physically get there. And so we came home, and it just kept getting worse, and people were stuck and calling and, having issues with not having food. So we put together a campaign there to try to see if we could get the money together to actually purchase rice and beans to get into the community. And so we just devised a way with relationships we had made to be able to procure the rice and beans from the market there. And then we transported it best we could, motorcycle, foot, whatever, to the open area of town to where we could actually load it in a truck to get it into the community. And we made our first delivery there yesterday, which was a little under 8,000 pounds of beans and rice. But this was to feed 700 families for a week. So the idea is that we can do that for 4 weeks. That's what we're shooting for. And then after that, at this point, I really have no idea. The majority of the people we're working with makes less than $2 a day. And so the food that we're giving a family right now is like around $7 for the family. So $7 worth of food in great circumstances when they're working every day is a huge blessing. So when they're not working, $7 worth of food is the whole world to them.
Is it just pouring rain there right now?
Dude, it is.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, it's like, we were at work and the Met team called and they were like, hey, batten down the hatches. We're expecting 70-mile-an-hour winds in the next few hours. And right now it looks like I'd say 40 to 50 right now outside Yes, it's pouring. I mean, the audio is probably crap, but
who cares?
There's thunder.
Is this some kind of like tropical storm, or is it just...
Can you hear the lightning?
I can't hear any lightning, but I can hear thunder.
Oh, well, there's that. Yeah.
A byproduct, man. It's a byproduct.
So I guess before the rain gets crazy hard. So this is a bad time for Nicaragua to decide to fail because you were just trying to raise support for what you're doing, but you kind of stopped that and you're raising support for this motorcycle rice run because of what's going down, right?
Yeah. So we basically went from child development to relief. Like I said, it's not our forte. We kind of specialize in development, and we're in the middle of several other campaigns to raise money for our normal operations. And then when this happened, we had to kind of shift gears and start trying to raise the funds for the relief, the emergency relief that we're trying to produce.
Holy cow! Do you see the wind? Man, it's hard to explain how much.
If I can hear it to the degree that I'm hearing it on my end, I think I'm tracking.
Yeah.
It's incredible sounding.
It is. Do you have any other questions for Adam before we...
bottom line, how much stuff do you see that goes down in the world and you're like, I'm powerless. I can't do anything about that. I have no connections. I don't know how to get around there. I don't know the language. And then, here you are, Adam, in a spot where you thought you were setting up to do one thing and then something terrible happens and you actually are in a position to do something about a serious thing going down that you see on the news. And the rest of us might feel totally impotent, but you're there, and I think it's really smart the way you've set this up to invite other people to help make this happen. It doesn't matter what somebody's into. Feeding somebody who doesn't have any food is a good thing.
That's right. And, if I can't help the whole country, but I can possibly help the little small community that I work in. And so it's just like anywhere in the world. You can't help the whole world, but you can help your neighbor. And so It's that principle that we're working toward.
Yeah. Thanks for being willing to go back.
Yeah, that's what you heard. All I heard was Matt said he felt impotent.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Impotent. That's not... have we talked about that? We can edit that, right?
Yeah, we can edit that, totally.
Okay. Adam, I appreciate the update, man. Thanks for roping me in on the conversation, guys.
All right,
later.
All right, take care. So in the history of Smarter Every Day, you have completely melted my brain with the video on magnets. That one should not have melted my brain, but it did. The one that starts with a little kid who figured out something about magnets.
The printed magnets,
Golly,
definitely.
Great video. The How Houdini Died video, phenomenal. Backwards Bicycle video, phenomenal. I know people really, really like the tattoo video. I found it super interesting. and would say it was a great video, but it didn't like get to that next level for me. And I'm forgetting one more that I absolutely loved, and I'll think of it later. But this one that you just did on the Vortex collision is like that upper echelon, like something really special happened there.
I loved it.
You worked on that for 4 years?
Yes. So I went back and looked at the emails actually because I wanted to get it right. So it was 5 years ago when I first saw this video of these two toroidal vortices colliding. That was 5 years ago.
Wait, toroidal vortices?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a toroid, I don't know how to say it. It's a donut shape, and it's a vortex, and the plural of vortex is vortices. So if two toroidal vortices impact, or two vortex rings impact, they create these really weird jets that come off 90 degrees or orthogonal to the plane of, the axis of impact. And so I started trying to figure it out, just goofing around. And I was like, this is going to be hard. I can tell I'm not going to be able to do this myself. So I went to the University of Alabama, and they have this senior design thing you can do. So for, I think it was $2,500, you can hire a team of undergraduate engineers for an entire semester.
Wait, you just buy academic servants who do academic work at your bidding?
Yep.
Sign me up. I got some stuff.
Yeah, I did it. My project, when I was in school, I helped design a laser diamond driller. So there was this guy that did wire dyes. You ever thought about how wire is made? This is going to be a Smarter Every Day at some point.
Yeah, I have. I don't know where I saw this, a video or somebody showed me, but yeah, I understand. A wire dye?
Yeah, drill a hole in a diamond, pull a wire through it, and extrude it. So I created a thing that you put a diamond in, and this laser would shoot holes in the diamond, and then you could tilt the wire dye to make this profile cut. And so my vision was, look, they're having to shape and machine the diamond with other bits of diamond, but if I can tilt it, I can make the profile that I need. And so that was my project. And so
how are you not a billionaire?
There's not a lot of money in wire dyes.
Are you kidding? But that's like one of those things that is used to make everything happen.
No, not really. I mean, that's pretty common stuff in mechanical engineering.
Okay, well, still, I think it's creative. And from the perspective of somebody who reads books written by old dead people, that seems really inventive and new to me. Well,
thank you. Yeah, so I remember the quality of work that we were doing back then, and I was like, you know what? That's the quality of work I need. I need this tied to their grade. I need it to really matter. So I got these engineers to help. There's several of them. A couple of lady engineers worked on certain projects, and there were some guys that worked on other ones. And I asked them to do these different fluid dynamics or fluid mechanics demonstrations. And one of them was the vortex collision. And they worked hard on it, and they got some limited results. But the problem was, they did it, and then at the end of the semester, they were like, okay, we did it, and we got our grade. They had senioritis. So, like, here's the stuff. And so, like, a guy literally drove by my house and, like, left an aquarium and a bunch of stuff with no instructions whatsoever.
Oh, great work, guys.
Yeah, and the best video they ever got was, you could hold your eyes right and be like, oh, look, they did it, but it wasn't what I ultimately wanted. So David Linderman, a guy that goes to church with me, we worked on it together for about 3 years.
He does? Did I meet him?
I don't know if you met him or not. I don't think so.
I didn't recognize him from the video.
He's a quiet guy. He's a thinker. And so David and I worked on this for quite a while, on and off, right? If I was out of town, we wouldn't work on it for a month or whatever. And then it was always in spurts. I would come over and we would work on it for like 6 or 7 hours straight. It was a blast, though. We loved it.
Okay, so two things. One, you can buy undergraduate scientists for $2,500.
That's what it was back in the day. Yeah.
Well, even if it's gone up a little bit for inflation, we should save up. We should do like a monthly budget and then go and buy some stupid frickin' project and make a bunch of college seniors do it. I really want to know.
A beaver cannon?
Yeah, I want a beaver cannon.
We've got these beavers are coming and they're damming up this pond, right? What we need
is some kind of like perfectly attuned audio cannon that we can fire at a beaver and make its Make his little bladder kind of melt, so he doesn't want to build the dams there no more.
Is that your Obama impression? Like, is Obama purchasing a beaver cannon?
That was Southern Obama. Northern Obama sounds more like you'd expect regular Obama to sound.
Dude, by the way, no joke. Your in your video, I forget which one. It was one of your more recent videos. You did an impression of Joel Osteen that was spot freaking on, dude. Mr. Osteen, do you have a few moments? I'd like to speak to you. Is that okay?
Oh, is that what we're gonna do now, brother? The thing is, brother, that I need you to understand, and everyone out there who's listening, is that God and the universe is for you, not against you. So this day, I want to challenge you to reach out and take those things that are for you.
Dude, please, scripture out of context. Do it.
Oh, where do I even? I don't know. No, I'm not
Just
doing
anything.
that. No, it's abuse. I won't do it. I have too high a regard.
Oh God!
I wasn't trying to do a Joel Osteen impersonation when I did that. It just all happens to sound like Joel Osteen.
That is
all impersonations of
false.
Weird prosperity Christianity lead to the Joel Osteen impersonation.
It was good.
I'm glad
well
it made
done,
you
man.
Happy. Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so honestly, how many hours of shooting globs of dye at each other do you think you put into that?
I have no idea. I wasn't there for all of them. So David would go make an adjustment, we had several meetings where we would sit down and we would pour over engineering drawings, and we'd talk about what we liked about certain designs and what we didn't like about different designs. And, we need to put a little flap to open it up so the ink doesn't come out and stuff like that. Dude, just figuring out the buoyancy of the ink, that was a year.
Oh, I believe it. Watching the video, you're just flying past stuff. I mean, what was the video, 9 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a 9-minute video. You are just zipping past like, well, my buddy David and I, we just sat down and put together this aquarium and this experiment and these machines. And I'm like, I got my hand up. You built all that? You built little jet blaster water dye machine things that fill up, and you've got some kind of like, I guess you showed how the hydraulics work to try to get even pressure to move these out. But you guys just engineered all that?
Yeah, pretty much. So we started.
Goodness. You live in such a different world than me.
We started with a speaker coil. The original idea was we're going to put speakers on each side. I didn't even show that in the video, but iteration one was we had a speaker on each side, and then we had a bladder in between the speaker. And the question was, do we put air behind the bladder or water behind the bladder? Because the pressure gradient from the top of that to the bottom of that is different. And so, I mean, we had a ton of problems we had to solve.
Wait, you mean pressure is distributed in a different way?
As you go down in a tank of water,
okay,
pressure increases.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you had a drum, it's a piece of rubber pulled across a pipe, right?
Okay.
And so if you had a drum, you're going to have a pressure gradient from the top to the bottom. And so we had to deal with things like, how do you stretch that rubber across that pipe the same every time? Because we figured out how to apply the same amount of pressure behind it each time, but we didn't figure out how to stretch that drum head the same every time. That took a long time. David figured that one out completely on his own.
I had not even thought of that hurdle.
Oh, yeah.
So wait. When you first did this and you had that stretch improperly applied, or you hadn't properly taken into account the difference in pressure going down in the tank, did the donuts come out tilted?
No, they didn't come out tilted. They came out at different velocities because there's this thing called Hooke's law. It's the spring equation. And so the force of a spring is equal to minus K, which is the spring constant, times X, which is the displacement of that. So as you imagine it's like a high C box, right? Like as you blow into the high C box, it kind of fluffs out. And then as you suck in from the high C box, it kind of caves in.
Sure.
So you have this ratio of concavity to convexity. I just made that word up, I think.
It worked for me.
Yeah, so that ratio is what we were dealing with, because depending on how tight the rubber was pulled across the pipe, that's going to affect the stroke length of the drum head, if you will. And that in turn changes the amount of volume that is pushed out with the vortex.
And the concavity is not necessarily commensurate with the convexity, correct?
Yes.
So you're not necessarily getting the same flex and bend both directions.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And that's especially true if you have air on one side and water on the other, because you naturally have more pressure on the water side.
Mm-hmm.
And so we eventually ended up going all the way back to having water on both sides. That's where we ended up. But it was hard to get there. We had to figure all of that out.
So the problem wasn't just, can we aim these and make them hit?
That was hard in itself too.
But the problem, it has to be repeatable. Like the whole reason you're doing the project. Well, not everybody's seen the video. So there's some grainy crap garbage video from, like, what'd you say, 91?
Yeah, University of Melbourne in Australia.
It was 1992. I had it in Spain, whatever. Okay, so I was wrong on the year, I was wrong on the place. I knew it wasn't in America. That's pretty good for an American. So, okay, and so you show the video, and you get the tiniest little hint that these two, is it just dye? Is it ink? What are you shooting there? Just dyed water?
Yeah, we were shooting India ink that was diluted in a special way.
Okay, so these two ink donuts moving through the water collide in perfect donut shape. They mash together, and in the old awful video from 92 that's all grainy and crappy, it looks like you can see these rings, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 of them, turn sideways and spread away from the initial impact in a way that just makes no sense. And so the whole reason you had to do the experiment, if I'm tracking correctly, is because it was definitely done once, but it seemed not repeatable, which means if you don't take all these steps to know why it worked, then even if you got it right, you'd still be in the same boat that you were in with the old video, because, hey, you lucked out and you got it right once goofing around, but you couldn't repeat it. So you had to be able to build something where you could fire this again and again and again and make it work. Am I tracking?
No, it was simpler than that. This guy, T.T. Lim, and Dr. Nichols, these two guys did this at the University of Melbourne. And the whole deal with scientific inquiry is if you did it once, it needs to be able to be repeated. You can do it again, right? If nature's laws hold true.
Yep.
And so here I am sitting in 2000, at this time it's 2013, looking at this document that was written in 1992 saying, what the crap? Why hasn't this been reproduced in the last 21 years?
Well, why hasn't it?
Because it's freaking hard, dude. That's what David said. David said, in the comments of the original video, people are like, well, why hasn't this been reproduced? And David says, I know why, because it's hard. And we didn't know that at the time. I just thought, well, this is low-hanging fruit. Nobody's done this. And so I read his paper, and his paper said, well, we use these Vortex rings blasters to shoot neutrally buoyant dye in the same direction.
Oh, well, that's it.
Yeah, there's two sentences that describe.
We take fuel and combust it and then use it to generate sufficient force to go to the moon. Just do that.
Exactly.
Did you call T.T. Lim?
I did. He never answered. I did get an email through to him this year. So I tried to contact him a long time ago. In fact, in the 12-hour behind the scenes edit, there's this moment where David and I are talking, and I was like, T.T. Lim, answer your email. But he did. He answered his email this year, and it was a very academic response. It was, oh, yeah, you should just do this. Here's the papers where we did all that.
Oh, well, thanks.
But he was very nice. He's like, dude, we did this 25 years ago. I couldn't tell you the volumetric flow rate. I couldn't tell you anything we did other than we did it, and then we calculated the Reynolds number for whatever we did after we did it. So we don't even know how we did it.
What's a Reynolds number?
A Reynolds number is a measure of turbulence of a fluid. And so you can calculate the velocity of the fluid, and you can figure out the Reynolds number based on different geometries. It's complicated, and it's very hard to explain. And it's one of those things that I always kind of think I have a grasp on it, but I'm uncomfortable talking about it because I have to go back and reference my books every time I do it myself. And so I want to make sure I get it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I am absolutely certain that I do not have a grasp on it.
Long story short, if you have a low Reynolds number, you're in laminar flow.
Okay.
If you have a very high Reynolds number, you're in turbulent flow. If you were to turn on your sink just really, really lightly and you get that nice clear stream that's falling down, that's laminar flow.
Yeah.
That's a low Reynolds number. If you were just to blast it on, even if you didn't have an aerator in your sink faucet, whoosh, that's turbulent flow.
Yeah, thumb over the end of the hose.
Right. And so the trick is to do, actually the thumb over the end of the hose can lead to laminar flow in certain.
Yeah, if you work it just right. I guess I've seen that.
Yeah, exactly. And what we were trying to do, there's this sweet spot because the vortex collision has to happen under laminar flow conditions. But what's so strange is it appears that everything goes turbulent. And once everything goes turbulent, you know this from all kinds of different interactions with the physical world yourself. As flow goes turbulent, it's really hard to get it back to laminar. You have to do something to reorder it.
I don't just know this from interactions with the physical world. I know this from interactions with the abstract world. I mean, that's just the BS asymmetry principle all over again. Once the information goes turbulent, it's very hard to get it back to laminar.
Right. So what's so magical about this to me is after the vortex collision, which seems to be a laminar flow event, there's this moment where everything kind of goes ape crap and it looks all turbulent. And then it comes back into this orderly state.
Yes. I get it. So, wow.
That's why it's so important to me. I want to understand that.
Yeah, and you just anticipated my question because what I was going to say a minute ago when I was like, all right, well, why hasn't this been done? What I was kind of lobbing to you was the opportunity for you to say, because it doesn't matter that much and it's a novelty aquarium game. And so, like, why haven't we gone back to the moon? Well, I don't know. Like, we don't really have more questions for the moon just yet, but maybe we're getting closer to that. So maybe it'll make sense to go again soon. Like, that's the answer I've always received there. Like, there's just no reason. We got what we needed. And so I expected that you might say, well, the reason nobody's done it is because nobody's nerdy enough to care about it. And I just think it's beautiful and care about it. But if I'm hearing you right, and please tell me if I'm not so we can edit it out and I can sound less stupid. If I'm hearing you right, what is so incredible about this is one of those rare moments in physics where you've got crystal clear, smooth laminar flow, and all of a sudden we go into chaos, what looks like it should just be unrecoverable speed wobble deviation, and then it immediately pulls back together into beautiful organized laminar flow again.
For me, yes, 100%. That's it. And what's even more interesting is those rings that come off 90 degrees, the red dye in those rings will be on the side that the red torus came from, and the blue dye will be on the side that the blue dye came from. So
I hadn't even thought about that.
What that tells me is there is an incredible amount of order within what looks like chaos. And I think that's just beautiful. So you're like wrapping these two things around each other and they pop out the other side on their respective sides, which is fascinating. And Trent instantly broke my brain. He said, you know what you should do? I was like, what, Trent? He said, you should get 4 of these vortex cannons, line them up so that 2 of them interact, create these secondary vortices, and then those 2 secondary vortices on each of them would collide, and then you would get another vortex collision. I was like, shut up, because I will want to do that.
Dale Jr.
Dale Jr.
Dang, dude. I loved the video. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about it this much.
Well, you helped me in the narrative at the end there. I was trying to, I felt like David mentored me a lot, and I wanted to mention that, and you're like, no, dude, you got to cut that out of what you're saying here because it confuses things. I think that definitely helped the video. So thank you I think you even said, this matters to me, and it's important, and you're too close to the math problem. Back off and do it this way.
That is the destinization of the quote. Like, I didn't say those words,
but you don't say that often. Like, you only will pull that card out if it's important.
Yeah, okay, all right.
You use some political capital to make that happen in the video.
Yeah, and I knew I was doing that. But the backwards bicycle video, that's been a really good thing for you, your channel, a lot of other people who've benefited from watching it, have had you come and speak about it. And I think the concept is fantastic. The fact that you did the experiment on yourself is fantastic. But the last 30 seconds of that video where we thought we were talking about a bike and we really actually were, but we're also learning something about our own tendencies toward biases, maybe even self-deception. You didn't use that word or that expression. I got to the end of that. I didn't know you when I saw that video. And I was like, this dude gets it. He is like the magician in the shuttle. He understands how my brain works. That is one of very few videos, and I was not biased at the time because I didn't know you. If anything, I was put off by your appearance when I watched it for obvious reasons.
Makes sense, yeah.
I was not biased toward that being a video that would affect me, but it kept me in the whole time, and you gave me one thing, Destin Sandlin, to think about at the end of the video, and it was so good because it was so focused and singular and profound. I knew exactly what the video was about, and it stuck with me. And when we started talking, I figured out that was you. That was kind of a weird moment for me, by the way. I felt like the way this video was shaking out, just listening to you talk about it, because I hadn't seen all the edit or the footage or anything. I just know you've been working on this and have cared about it. You've sent me potato shots from your phone as you get closer. I mean, I've been pretty invested in this. But I felt like on the home stretch, you were making two really great points. And so, yeah, the thing that I wanted to suggest was, dude, make one really great point. And the other one's great, but just give me one thing.
You didn't suggest it. You told me, and I'm glad you did.
All right, that's...
I'm glad you did. Thank you for doing that.
All right, well, thank you for being so gracious about my pushiness. Here's the thing. Whatever you'd said at the end of the video...
Quit trying to win the humility contest here. Thank you for being so gracious.
You're right. I am
Yeah,
doing
you're
that.
right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's like,
I don't
this
need
is
to
not
win
a
the humility contest. I have a problem with that, and I apologize.
But by the way,
thank you for pushing back
doing
on
it,
me there.
You're doing it again. Shut up.
I am, and I apologize again.
I thought about coming up with a humility award and actually awarding it to someone and giving a speech before I present the award and say, this is the award you can literally never tell anyone that you got. I don't know why I said literally there, but you get the idea.
I feel like it worked.
I'm going to give you an award. And if you ever talk about receiving this award, you instantly negate the reason you got the award.
That's tricky.
Isn't that fun?
I won an award in high school. They didn't call it the Best Christian Award, but I went to a Christian high school. It really was effectively the Best Christian Award, which I think it was a throwaway because we only had 9 students in our class. And I didn't make the homecoming or prom court, which consisted of 8 people.
What's it called? What was the award called?
It's called the Timothy Award. Timothy, was Paul's like disciple helper guy. I really think I got it out of utter pity and sympathy because literally we had 9 people in the class, 8 people were on the homecoming court, and I took their pictures as the non-homecoming court, the only non-homecoming court member of our class. And I think at the end of the year, people were like, that poor ugly boy. What could we do for him? Let's just pretend he's a good Christian. What could we call this award? Who was someone who was young and a Christian in the Bible? Timothy. There. You've won an award. See here, it's a plaque. You're very good at Christian. Say some words.
Mark Rober, I went and visit him when he was still working at NASA, and he had a plaque on his wall in his office. And do you do that? Like if you get awards or something, do you put the plaques on your wall? That feels weird to me.
I don't. I have no judgment for someone who wants to, but I don't. I have a Ronald Reagan doll on my wall and a Hillary Clinton inner thigh nutcracker and a Grimlock. That's what I have.
So there's this old guy that I used to work with. His name was Gus. And he said, oh, thanks. We gave him a certificate or something. He goes, I'm going to put this on the I Love Me wall. And I was like, what's the I Love Me wall? He's like, oh, the one. The wall in your house where you put all the stuff that you did to make yourself feel good about yourself. The I Love Me wall. And he said it with this like old man wisdom charm in his voice. He's like, you don't know what I'm talking about, but you will one day, young man. Anyway, so Mark Rober, he had an award on his wall in his office, and it's the Boy of the Year award.
What?
It was like the 1994 Boy of the Year. I don't remember if it was his Boy Scout troop or his school or whatever it was, but they called it the Boy of the Year. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep that. He hangs it on his office. You get a lot
of mileage out of that.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of mileage out of Best Christian. I literally Literally got figuratively got the best Christian award. Is actually the Timothy Award. I get it. I hear you. Where do you keep your super fancy American Education Excellence plaque? What did that award look like?
What are we talking
Your
about?
education award. Your super awesome award that you got for being good at educating.
The Sally Ride
That's
award.
what I said. Verbatim.
Yeah. It's in a box in my office in the floor. But I'm super proud of it.
You should be really proud of that. For crying
You know
out
what I
loud,
mean?
you should be. What does it look like?
Dude, it looks like you know in the old Superman when
The Crystal of Knowledge?
the like is it the Fortress of Solitude or whatever?
Yes.
Anyway, you know how everything looks like a stalagmite out of ice?
Yes.
Or crystal? It looks like that.
That's pretty cool.
It looks really cool.
Is it heavy?
It's very heavy.
I want to see it next time I'm there.
I'm going to make you a humility award, and I'm going to
Thank
wait
you.
and award it to you in a place where you can never talk about it again.
I'd really like that. Yeah. I'm going to make you a National Excellence in Education Award. Oh, wait.
Actually,
Somebody already did.
Excellence Education award. Oh, I thought you were doing the game where we play where we make up acronyms.
No.
I just knew that was going to spell a bad word.
No, we do not play that game on the microphones. That is
We're really good at that game.
We are. I've got a lot of really good ones. Man, I just want to say them all now. You sat and talked with Audible people this week, right?
Yeah, they were cool. I get to look people in the eyeballs and say, hey, thank you for sponsoring, and these are some ideas I had. Like, I gave them ideas for things to put on the website. I'm not allowed to talk about it yet because they might do it. They might not do it. Okay. But I really hope they do.
And they're aware that we're doing this like book club thing as part of the program?
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, this episode's not sponsored by Audible, but yeah, I told them we like doing it. It's enjoyable. It makes for really deep conversation. They like it too. So it's pretty cool to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, hey, thanks. We enjoy your stuff and thanks for supporting ours. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I know they don't give us numbers or feedback or anything, but I know for sure that there were something in the range of about 300,000 downloads of Ready Player One. And I'm not saying who did that, but she's a special, special lady.
That's right.
So I picked a book. It's my turn. We so far we've done Ready Player One, your pick, Devil in the White City, my pick, and Ender's Game, your pick. I think all of them have been fun. I'll be honest. I think I had a little more fun with your picks, but I really like Devil in the White City. I'm going to do something really different for my next pick, which is How to Think by Alan Jacobs.
Okay.
I've been pushing you on this book for a while.
Is it exactly what it sounds like? Like it's...
Yeah.
See, I mean, I kind of like how I think. Is this going to change the way I think in a bad way?
Wow. Like, full disclosure, we did not script that. That was really good, man. That was
what do you mean?
Gold. Well, I mean, normally if somebody says something that insightful in the process of asking people to go and grab a book to check out with us, it's like a clever advertising gimmick. But you just dropped that question. You just lobbed me that softball. Yeah, I'm with you. I also like the way I think. And I went into the book expecting to learn or to better understand why other people are so wrong about so much. And it took about half a chapter and I realized, I have a lot to learn here. The book is 4 hours and 21 minutes long. It's like one road trip worth of book. And I think I'm going to go through it 2 or 3 more times in preparation for our episode when we get around to ultimately talking about it, because like it is affecting me. It really gets in the veins.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you one question.
Okay, go ahead.
This one question is going to determine if I'm on board or not. Do you think this book has made you a better person?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay.
Alan Jacobs, How to Think.
Yeah, this is going to affect people's lives. This is a good book. It's important.
Sweet.
Cool. All right, we got a plan there. What else do we need to talk about? Is that it? Are we shutting it down?
I need to do a talkie talk in, I'm looking at the clock right here, not many hours.
Yeah. Okay.
So I need to get off the phone here and go get ready for that.
I care about and am invested in your success. So I'm going to forego the question that I have for you about Incredibles 2, but look forward to that next time around.
Sounds good. I have a really strange question that I had here in my notes.
Okay.
And I'm just going to leave that one as well.
Well, it looks like everyone will just have to tune in again next time.
This was enjoyable, man. I appreciate it.
Oh man, thanks for being willing to go deep down the rabbit hole again. That was a blast.
Golly, and I need to. Is the How to Think book going to make me have one of those moments like the magician did in the car?
It's going to make you have multiple moments like that. It's
Really?
going to push you. Really, all joking aside, this is the most important thing that I've encountered this year. It's really affected me.
If you could stack it up against Pete's Dragon, which one do you think affected you more?
Dude, it's late. Don't bring that up. Like that hit me at a time when
I'm
there's
out,
just stuff
dude.
going on. It's fine.
Take it
Yeah,
easy.
that's fine. I'm fine. All right. Good night, dude. Thanks. This was
Good night. Good night.